Hello everyone, and welcome back to Monsters of the Mind. As always, I'm your host, Mr.G. Today is an exciting episode. In today's episode, we're taking our first plunge into the world of cryptozoology, the study of creatures whose existence has been proposed but hasn't been confirmed. Now, there's a lot of cryptids in this series, and they cover all the famous ones, so there's really no need to give examples since we'll be seeing them as we go along. And what better way to start out with than with probably the most famous aquatic cryptid of them all? The Loch Ness Monster. Its name means exactly what it sounds like. I think it's an individual because there's never been reports of more than one monster, which is weird. It's never attacked anyone, so I guess it's not evil, but it's never done anything heroic, so I'm just gonna go with neutral. It lived in Lake Loch Ness in Scotland, and it is indeed a cryptid. Appearance-wise, almost every depiction of the monster depicts it as being a plesiosaur, which, if you want to know more about, then check out my plesiosaur video, link in the description. Hint, 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 hint. Anyway, the first reports of Nessie first started in 1933, when a man named George Spicer reportedly saw something run across the water in front of them and into the lake. Something worth noting is that there were no real sightings before 1933. Although there is a story from 565 AD that a lot of cryptozoologists like to use as evidence, where allegedly a saint ended up banishing a monster into the river surrounding Loch Ness. However, skeptics have pointed out that not only did the story not take place in the lake itself, but also that river monsters in general are common in European folklore. Not to mention there's a lot of stories about creatures getting banished to some place, so what makes this one so special? So yeah, I agree that people are just stretching this story to make it seem more like it's about the Loch Ness Monster. In fact, in general, stories from before 1933 tend to seem to just be common folklore-like stories that people try to shoehorn the monster into to try to support their claims. Not helping is the fact that most photographic evidence of the monster is also highly dubious for a lot of reasons. There's the famous surgeon's photograph that turned out to be a hoax made using a toy submarine. There's the Loch Ness Muppet, which is highly dubious because there's no ripples surrounding the monster despite its supposedly massive size. There's this picture, which is most likely just a group of seals. In fact, pretty much every picture or video of it has been proven to either be something else or just a hoax. Yeah, if you couldn't tell already, I don't really believe in Nessie for both these reasons and the fact that, like most supposed late surviving creatures, it looks like what the animals are structured like at the time they were discovered rather than what they look like nowadays. In this case, Nessie is often described as being able to hold her neck up like a swan and crawl on land, neither of which are things plesiosaurs were able to do. And for me, the final nail in the coffin is that in 2018, a bunch of Loch Ness's water was scanned for DNA, and literally nothing unusual was found. So yeah, not a believer of this one. Get used to me saying that because, spoiler alert, I am going to say that to basically every cryptid in this series. So you might as well just get used to it. Look, I'm sorry, it's just that I think there are a lot more explanations than late surviving plesiosaur for something in the lake. Nessie could very well easily just be a big sturgeon or a large eel, since both of those do live in Loch Ness and they can get pretty big, so they're probably just misidentifications of those. But yeah, giant plesiosaur living in a Scottish lake, I'm sorry, I just can't buy it. If you think you can change my mind, I'd love to see you try. And now here's Vincent. I have fond memories of Nessie. She's actually the one who taught me how to swim. You see, when I was younger, I was playing around in the woods and ended up falling into a deep lake. I was very close to drowning, but then I got lifted into the air by something. When I looked down, I saw a large reptilian animal with four flippers and a large turtle-esque body and a huge serpentine neck. She dragged me to shore and then told me that if I needed to swim, I should learn now. And for the next few months, every day, I would go to her, and she would gradually teach me how to become better and better at swimming. Yeah, so I get along great with her. I don't really see her much, since she spends most of her time guarding the Loch Ness portal to my dimension to make sure no one goes into it. Her job is to scare people away if they get too close to it. She is very good at her job, too. She has been seen before, but she's always been sure to avoid people with photographs. And whenever she does see someone in a photograph, she starts moving around frantically to make sure that she's as blurry as possible. I'd consider her to be the second best gatekeeper, only beaten by one other. Now let's look at the card. This card makes an unusual design choice. No, not in the design, it's just that on the front of the card, the creatures were portrayed as a plesiosaur, like is usual. But then on the back of the card, it randomly turns into a sea serpent. Like, just look. Body, serpentine body. Plesiosaur, serpent. Plesiosaur, serpent. Fat body, skinny body. Fat body, skinny body. I think you get the point. Anyway, this card gets a 9 out of 10. It would get a 10 out of 10, but I find this design choice so confusing that I deducted a point for it. Now, you might think pop culture would be easy, given how famous Nessie is, but I've come to learn that while researching appearances, most appearances of Nessie are offhand mentions that we never actually see her on screen. So, yeah. It was actually harder than I thought to find on-screen appearances of Nessie. Let's see, Disney made a short film about Nessie that explains that Loch Ness was created by her tears. The Pokemon Lapras is based off of Nessie. Scooby-Doo has tangled with this monster before. It's an adoptable animal in Zoo Tycoon. She was the subject of an episode of The Simpsons. In the show South Park, there was an episode with a running gag about how the Loch Ness monster kept wanting $3.50. We never actually see Nessie on screen, but it's one of the most iconic moments of the show, so I feel like it'd be a crime not to mention it. The Mario series has a creature named Dory who's based on the monster. There's a movie called The Water Horse, where it turns out Nessie has this weird reproductive system where one lays an egg, then dies, then the egg hatches. I don't know, I've never seen this movie. There was The Secret of the Loch, which was the first movie to feature Nessie, and it came out only a year after it was discovered. In this case, it came out in 1934. That's all for this episode of Monsters of the Mind. Join me next time when I take a look at the most biggest, baddest, most powerful creature in all of Greek mythology. Bye!